Any other gadgets you've gotten installed here?
This is a very ominous looking because of the red button.
From a $500 million private submarine to a $20 electric toothbrush. This is the billionaire gadget tier list. Larry Ellison, the co-founder of Oracle, once bought a $194 million yacht called Rising Sun. It's 453 feet long, has a basketball court, a cinema, a wine cellar, and a crew of 100 people, whose entire job is to maintain a boat that Larry uses roughly 4 times a year. He later decided Rising Sun was too small and started designing a $500 million super yacht, with a support yacht just to carry the toys of the main yacht. If your yacht needs its own yacht, you have stopped being a person and started being a concept. S tier. Vladimir Putin has a net worth of $200 billion. And when this man is not poisoning journalists, he is riding around in a custom armored limousine called the Cortege Aris. It has electromagnetic pulse protection, bulletproof everything, and a ventilation system that can seal itself in the event of a chemical attack. The car also has a button that activates a full-body parachute. Just kidding. No one knows what all the buttons do, because no one who has gotten close enough to find out has been seen again. Solid S tier. Mark Zuckerberg spent $300 million building his Hawaiian compound, and the man needed something to do inside of it, so he took up foiling, which is essentially surfing but on a flying board powered by an electric hydrofoil that lifts you completely off the water. He got so good at it that he started doing it while holding an American flag, which might be the most unintentionally threatening thing a tech billionaire has ever done. A guy who owns all of your data, flying silently above the ocean on a metal board wrapped in a flag. B tier. In 1997, Steve Jobs came back to Apple and immediately canceled 70% of their products. He hated clutter, he hated excess, he hated buttons. He once sent back a prototype iPod because it was 1 millimeter too thick, and the engineer said it was physically impossible to make it thinner. So Jobs dropped it in an aquarium, pointed at the air bubbles coming out of it, and said, "Those are air pockets. Make it thinner." The engineer made it thinner. Steve Jobs owned almost no personal gadgets because he believed that if you make something perfect, you only need one thing. And that one thing was a device that he spent his entire life building and never actually lived to see fully realized. I don't know what tier to put this in. It feels wrong to give it a tier. S tier. World-famous logistics entrepreneur El Chapo ran a drug empire worth $12 billion, and his most important gadget was a custom encrypted Nokia phone. The thing had no GPS, no camera, no internet access, and could only communicate with 11 other identical phones carried by his top lieutenants. The whole network was managed by a guy in Canada whose only job was to keep the phones working. When the DEA finally cracked the encryption in 2011, it took down half his operation. So for 3 years, a modified Nokia brick was the most dangerous piece of technology in North America. F tier, because he got caught. Donald Trump's most famous gadget is a $50 Diet Coke button that he had installed on the Oval Office desk. When reporters first noticed it and asked what it did, a White House aide pressed it, and a butler immediately appeared with a Diet Coke on a silver tray. That is a real thing that happened. The previous occupant of the desk used it for nuclear briefings. Trump used it for beverages. I genuinely cannot decide if this is the most powerful or least powerful use of a button in human history. Being the King of England comes with a lot of perks, but the coolest gadget in the royal collection is the coronation chair, which has a $400 wireless microphone system secretly embedded inside it, so the world can hear every word of the ceremony. They also have a sword of state, a solid gold scepter, and an orb that has literally no function other than being held and looking powerful, which if you think about it is the most honest thing about the entire monarchy. The orb is C tier, the microphone is a solid B. Warren Buffett has a net worth of $130 billion, and his most prized gadget is a flip phone. He used a Samsung flip phone for years before finally upgrading to an iPhone in 2020, and he admitted he only uses it to call his daughter. He does not use email, he does not use a computer at his desk. He has been offered more technology than almost any living human, and he has said no to all of it. In a 2019 interview, he said he measures his success by how many people love him, which is a great metric, except for the fact that he said it into a flip phone. A tier, actually. Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in India, spent $2 billion on his 27-story house. And to get between the floors of that house, he has 6 elevators, including one that is reserved exclusively for his cars. Yes, there is an elevator for his cars. And inside his garage, there is a $7 million Rolls-Royce Cullinan that has a refrigeration system built into the back seat, so his beverages stay cold during the 4-minute drive from his house to literally anywhere else. The car also has a 360-degree camera system and bulletproof glass. I would rate it, but I'm not sure my rating system applies to a vehicle with its own climate zone. Kanye West said this in a 2020 interview. "I have created the most important piece of footwear in human history." Kanye's Yeezy sneakers became a $1.5 billion business, and his most technologically ambitious project was a self-heating boot prototype he commissioned in 2021. It had carbon fiber soles, temperature-regulating foam, and a Bluetooth connection to an app that he personally designed. The boots were never released because Kanye pivoted to designing a $200 million city in the Middle East after taking L after L after L. The boots were also never paid for, and the designer is currently suing him. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, spent millions on a collection of ancient Chinese artifacts and calligraphy, but his most interesting gadget purchase was a $1.2 million exoskeleton suit built by a Japanese robotics company called Cyberdyne. Yes, the company is literally named after the Terminator Corporation. Jack Ma wore the suit at a conference to demonstrate the future of human augmentation. He looked incredible for about 3 minutes before quietly sitting back down and never mentioning it again. Jack Ma then disappeared for 3 months after criticizing the Chinese government, and when he came back, no one asked about the exoskeleton. Michael Jordan owns a $2 million simulator setup in his house that lets him play golf without going outside. It has floor-to-ceiling screens, a pressure-sensitive mat, and a swing analyzer that tracks 27 different data points about his golf swing. The problem? Michael Jordan is apparently terrible at golf. He has a handicap of around 1.8, which is actually not terrible, except that he bets tens of thousands of dollars per hole against people who are much better than him, and has reportedly lost over $10 million gambling on golf. So the simulator is not improving his game, but it is improving the bank accounts of everyone he plays against. D tier. Jeff Bezos spent $500 million on a super yacht called Koru. It's 417 feet long, made of classic sailing masts, and looks like a ship a pirate king would use to destroy other ships. And that is pretty much correct because Bezos is the most powerful man in global shipping. The yacht was so big that the city of Rotterdam had to temporarily dismantle a historic bridge to let it pass through, and they almost didn't do it, and Bezos almost had to sail around, but Rotterdam said yes. Because when the second richest man on earth needs to move his boat, you move the bridge. A tier for the audacity alone. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman dropped $450 million on the Salvator Mundi, a painting of Jesus Christ attributed to Leonardo da Vinci, making it the most expensive gadget ever purchased, if you count a 500-year-old painting as a gadget. Which I do. Because no one has seen it since he bought it. It has not been displayed. It has not been exhibited. There are rumors it is sitting in his yacht, in a climate-controlled storage room, which means the Crown Prince spent nearly $500 million on a painting that he keeps in his boat and does not look at. This is either the greatest flex of all time or a completely normal Tuesday for someone with a $70 billion net worth. S tier, but for insanity, not taste. Ken Griffin, the billionaire hedge fund manager, spent $43 million on a copy of the US Constitution at auction. He was outbid by an anonymous buyer in 2021, which made international news, when the anonymous buyer turned out to be a group of random people on the internet who pooled their money together through a cryptocurrency crowdfund to try to buy the Constitution and beat one of the richest men in America. Griffin eventually got his copy. He now owns one of the few surviving originals of the United States Constitution, which he keeps in his office, between his Bloomberg terminal and his extremely expensive chair. This man is built different. Bill Gates has a $150 million compound in Washington, and his most interesting gadget is a system of sensors embedded throughout the property that detects who you are when you walk in and automatically adjusts the temperature, lighting, and music to your personal preferences. Every guest at the Gates estate gets a pin to wear that communicates with the house. So when you walk from room to room, the ambiance follows you like a very polite ghost that knows your Spotify history. The system cost over $80 million to install, which is more than most people's houses. And it mostly plays smooth jazz, B tier. Larry Ellison bought the island of Lanai in Hawaii for $300 million, and to travel between his island and the mainland, he uses a $30 million Gulfstream G650 private jet that has been custom configured with a Japanese Zen interior, flatbeds, mood lighting, and a sake cabinet. Because when you buy an entire island, you deserve a plane that matches its aesthetic. Larry's pilot is on call 24 hours a day, and the jet is wheels up within 3 hours of any request. That is faster than most people can get an Uber. S tier. Kim Kardashian spent $1.4 million on a vintage Cartier watch that once belonged to Princess Diana, and then wore it to a Hulu promotional event, which might be the most Kim Kardashian sentence ever written. She also owns a custom Skims compression bodysuit that costs $500 and apparently requires professional assistance to put on correctly. She posted a tutorial about it that got 20 million views, making a $500 piece of shapewear one of the most watched instructional videos in internet history. I don't know what tier this is, but I respect the marketing. Elon Musk sold all of his possessions in 2020 and moved into a $50,000 prefab tiny home in Texas, built by a company called Boxable. The house folds out from the back of a truck, unfolds in one day, and comes with a full kitchen, bathroom, and living area. Elon said he wanted to live simply. He said possessions weigh you down. He said this, while simultaneously spending $44 billion on Twitter, launching rockets into space, and implanting computer chips into people's brains through his company Neuralink. The first Neuralink patient was able to control a computer mouse with his thoughts, which is genuinely one of the most remarkable things that has ever happened. And Elon mentioned it in a tweet sandwiched between memes. Elon got rid of his gadgets and replaced them with a gadget that goes in your skull. S tier for the chip, F tier for the irony.